So number two, as Justin mentioned, is personalized marketing will be the norm, even for small businesses. If any of you are like my husband, when I was running him through this presentation, his question was, what's personalized marketing? And I was like, hey, that's my next slide. So hold on a second. And so then I said, it's delivering individualized content to recipients through data collection, analysis, and the use of automation technology to engage customers by communicating with them as an individual. And he was like, what does that mean? That makes literally no sense. So I was like, okay, good point. That is a marketer's definition of personalized marketing. For us as, lay people, really what it is using the data that we know about our customers or that we have about our customers to personalize their experience. So oftentimes I think sometimes we think about marketing in this kind of bucket over here and the customer experience in this bucket over here, and really what it's saying is it's all one. So personalized marketing is saying you know stuff about me because I've bought stuff from you, whether I'm a consumer or whether I'm a business consumer. So personalize my experience with you and make it better, right? And so we believe that this is something you probably read a lot about today. It is stuff that larger brands are starting to dip their toes in, but really the technology is not quite there yet. We believe in the next 10 years it will be there, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of what that means. Ultimately, though, one thing to keep in mind, because it's kind of what I actually do, which is personalized marketing is more than just on your website. So oftentimes when I think of personalized marketing, I think, oh, okay, I get it. Like if I'm going to a retailer's website, it's November, I'm in Ohio, they're gonna show me gloves and they're gonna show me hats, right? Because it's winter time. But if I were a consumer in California, for example, they might show me shorts and sunglasses. That is an example of personalized marketing, but it goes so much further than your website. It goes into every marketing channel, any apps that you have, social, your email strategy, and then it goes beyond that, right? It actually goes into things like your customer service and how they answer the phone or how they speak to your customers, your sales teams, right? Because we know a lot about our customers. It's just not necessarily easy to get the data yet, and it's not necessarily easy to use it. We believe that sooner than we think it will be. So a couple of fun examples about how personalized marketing gets implemented today. My favorite, of course, for those of you who also are users of the Starbucks mobile app. If you're not, you're going to run out, well, you're just gonna pull out your phone and download it, but you're gonna start using it because it's amazing. I never wait in line. I order all of my stuff on this app. I show up, I pick it up immediately. I don't wait, I don't have to talk to anybody. It's heaven. But the cool thing is that as you start using it and as the app starts to get to know me better, it starts recommending, Danielle, you've eaten this type of food there before. We've got this new food item. We think you'd be interested in it. It shows me where I've been, where I've bought things previously. It's just a much more functional experience that's based on my data, right? And what's super interesting is that Starbucks rolled out the mobile app really kind of across the board in the US in 2016, so not that long ago. It now it accounts for $6 million a month in sales for them, which is 22% of their US revenue. So it's crazy, right? If you think about like that personalized functional experience really drives results as well. Another great example of like taking personalized marketing to the basics of just what we think is personalized is Coke's campaign, which was, this kind of Share a Coke campaign, which they rolled out in 2012 in Australia and then started rolling it out across the world. And it's as simple as they replaced their logo with people's names, and the people happened to be people that they knew were popular names and customers of, Coke in general. And what's crazy is that it actually raised their sales for the first time in 10 years. Because how easy is it to raise Coke's $1 billion of sales, right? You're probably not gonna make a dent in that, but this actually did. That level of specificity is really important to us as consumers psychologically. And then a little bit more of a kind of expected example, but I think that is important, is, EasyJet. They're actually the number 2 largest airline in Europe. So we don't really know them here, but they're very well known in Europe. And so one of the things that they did was they took all of the data in celebration of their 20th anniversary. They took all of the data that they have on customers, which is a ton, right? They know where I flew, when I flew, how long ago I flew, where I went, all of those things, right? So they took that information and they actually created personalized email campaigns that presented to people, here's the first place you flew with us, here's where you've been over your relationship with us, based on this, here's where we think that you'd like to go that we have routes to. So they ended up sending over 12 million unique emails, and it drove, compared to previous emails they had sent, 100% increase in click-through rate. Obviously, right? Because I'm way more interested, or open rate, excuse me, because I'm going to open it much more than I am something that's generic, and a 40% increase in click-through rate. So you start to multiply that times numbers, and you can really start to understand the business value. So, I think at the end of the day, what you will find if you start looking into this a little bit more is that it definitely works. Personalized marketing definitely works, and it works today. And if you just look at some of the stats, and as I always say when we're speaking with anybody, put yourself, because we're all consumers, whether we're consuming individual products or business products or whatever it may be. If we think about what that experience is like, of course it makes a difference, right? So some stats are 86% of consumers say personalization plays a role in their purchase decision. This is all today, right? 48% of consumers say they buy more when their experience is personalized. Over half of us say it's important that when I interact with a business, you know who I am across channels and across devices. I mean, think about it, right? These are our expectations, and it does matter. The challenge we run into today is simply that, the technology is not quite there for other than the largest of brands, the technology and the affordability is not there yet for us to actually implement this, as small and medium-sized businesses. But we believe that the reason this will transition over the next 10 years is we believe it's very similar to the marketing automation industry. So you guys may be familiar with that term, but in essence, that's the concept, right, of all the technology players out there like the HubSpots, the Eloquas, the Marketos, that allowed us to, take data and basically automate a lot of communications with consumers. And if you watch their progress, these tools started rolling out in like the mid-2000s, and fast forward basically 15 years later, and, there's hundreds of thousands of users, and, it's grown from a pretty small industry, right, with not a ton of users, to a massive industry. So if you compare that to marketing automation, we believe that personalization and personalized marketing technology, it's going to follow this same route, and probably it's going to be faster than 10 years, but that's just something that we're seeing. So based on this, kind of what can you do today, knowing that the tools aren't necessarily ready for us yet, but we know that it's going to be coming, right? First and foremost, I think just think about and identify, what do you know about your customer? What data points do you actually know from them interacting with you? And where does that data live? Because as businesses, right, oftentimes the hard part is we have all this information, but it just doesn't live in the same spots, right? It's in disparate systems, it's in paper, it's wherever it might be. So identify that and recognize it, and then see if there's anything you could do on a super small scale to use that information to better drive a customer experience, so that ultimately when you see that, sure, there's absolutely stuff I know about my customers that could make their experience with me better, you can start to test it out in a little bit of a way manually until the tools get where they need to be, but you've already kind of thought through the strategy, so by the time the tools arrive, you're one step ahead of all of your competition, and that's our goal at all times.